Yo! Whoa!
Does he have money?
No.
Where's the nunchuck?
Yo!
Ended up in high school, I thought I wanted to be a manager, like a State Farm manager, State Farm agent. Yeah. Ended up going to college, tried to get a degree in business. That's no joke, bro. Like,
yeah.
so I realized right away by like accounting 2, which was the only C I ever got in college. I was like, oh, I'm not going to be able to do this. Like, I'll never get through micro and macroeconomics. Like, there's no way I'm doing this.
Right.
So I switched it to the easiest possible fine arts. It's like, what is the easiest thing I can get a degree in? I thought fine arts. I'm super creative. I can paint. I can draw. This is going to be easy, and it was. You know, I did really well. I got basically all A's, maybe a B or 2, and graduated. And
what year did you graduate?
95.
90. Oh shit!
Yeah.
Holy crap! Okay.
What gender does mostly arts in school?
It was a bunch of chicks in there probably too, right?
I already know.
Probably a bunch of girls in there as well.
So you know what's funny about that? Like, I had a girlfriend that I dated probably for 3 years of college, and this is funny. She was a stripper who was working her way through college. Really though,
Yeah.
Not
For once, right?
Yeah, exactly. She really was. She
was in school,
and she got a degree in business. So, anyway, and as far as it was, it's liberal. It's the liberal arts, right, bros? Yeah. They're all like, the women are mostly lesbians, or they just hate you in general.
Yeah.
And I used to wear. I don't know if you know who Rush Limbaugh is.
Rush Limbaugh.
Sounds familiar.
So he's like the one of the first conservative talk show hosts ever. This is before like YouTube.
Okay.
So I used to wear a T-shirt that said Rush Limbaugh for president. Like they hated my guts.
Oh,
I drove a BMW. I mean, look at me. Like, and I mean now I'm 55, but back then I was young, blonde hair, blue eyed, worked out all the time. Like they hate my guts. I'm everything they despise.
Yeah, you're the wasp that they hate. You're the man. You're the oppressor. You're the patriarchy in their eyes.
Right.
How dare you?
Yep. But I still graduated.
Yep.
But wasn't, like I said, because of the dyslexia, I wasn't very good at, wasn't great at business. Got laid off a few times.
No, we're good. We're good. Don't worry. The audio thing here in our headphones. Mo, can we fix that, please? Go ahead. Continue.
I got laid off a few times. Started working construction. Behind on my bills, and the chick I was dating was like, "Listen, she had met some guy who owned a lender, right? And they had a bunch of offices, and she said, this guy, they're mortgage brokers. He owns a mortgage brokerage business. You should go to work there. Like, you'd be great." Right. So I went and I applied, and I got the job.
What year is this now? 96, 97?
No, this is probably 99.
Oh, okay.
By the time I started, it was like 99.
Okay.
Oh, because I worked for those other companies. You work for them for a year, you get laid off. Work for another one a year. Tried construction for a couple of years, barely paying my bills. Construction sucks.
Yeah.
I'm not built for construction.
Yeah.
So I start working as a mortgage broker, and I did very well, like right away, because basically my very first loan I started committing fraud. By the time I got there, keep in mind, by the time I got there, I hadn't worked in weeks. By the time my first loan is about to close, I haven't been paid anything in month and a half.
Was it all commission based?
It's all 100%.
Okay, so it wasn't hourly.
Yeah, I'm behind on my car, a couple months.
Yeah.
My mortgage is probably 3 weeks, maybe a month overdue. Credit cards, like I'm banking. I put everything into this. Like, this has to work.
Right.
And I mean, it's that, or you move back in with my parents.
Yeah.
So the very first loan I had was perfect loan. It's ready to close, and I go into my manager's office, and she opens up the file and pulls one document, puts it aside, and says, so she closes. She goes, "Look, everything's perfect, ready to close." She goes, "But on your verification of rent for your borrower, she was 30 days late on her rent in the last 2 years."
Okay.
So maybe 6 months ago, maybe 2 years ago, and I was like, what do I do? Like, that's a deal killer. It's over.
Yeah.
And she pulled out a whiteout thing and went, and she goes, "If I was you, I'd white it out, make a copy, stick it in the file, send it to underwriting. It'll be fine."
The devil
And I'm
himself,
like,
man.
Holy shit. And I was like, that's fraud. I could go to jail. She says, "Nobody's going to jail." She says, "Worst that happens is they fire you." She says, "They're never going to find that. They're not going to call. They're not going to know that." She says, "It'll be fine." And I was like, so, I'm desperate. And she was like, "You don't have to do it. Nobody's looking for my car." She says, "Do whatever you want to do." And I'm like, fuck. So I white it out, it goes to underwriting. I sweat ball it for 3-4 days. And then they say, hey, you can close in a couple days. We close whatever 4 or 5 days later. I get a check for $3,500. You know, it was the right decision.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
So, okay.
Yeah.
So this is what, 1999 this happens, right?
Yeah.
99. And $3,500 back then is a lot different than now. That's probably, I would say, maybe $7,000 purchasing power now, right?
Yeah, but I
Easily
mean,
double.
not just, keep in mind my mortgage my mortgage payment's like $500, you know?
Mortgage, your car.
Yeah, my car payment's probably $300, you
Yeah.
know? So, but it wasn't just that. It was that, like, the next guy that comes in, he's got a W-2. He doesn't make enough. Debt to income ratio. He doesn't qualify, right? He doesn't make quite enough money. He makes $50,000, but if he made $57,000, he can get the loan.
Real quick for the audience, can you explain, like, as a mortgage broker, like, what your duty is, just so they kind of understand? Because some people, like, unless they're in real estate, they're not going to know what your job is specifically. We're talking about is like getting people loans and everything else for a house. Can you describe real quick
So at
your duty and then how you were able to kind of finesse it?
At that company, all of the loans went through their own lender. They were a lender.
Okay.
Right. So, but it's pretty much the same anywhere you go as a mortgage broker. So what we did was I would go out and I would find people that were interested
In buying a home.
And so you want to get a house, and maybe you don't quite qualify for Bank of America. You can't go to the bank.
Yeah.
So you come to me.
My credit's fucked up. Maybe I'm behind on a payment. Maybe I got something in collections. Yeah.
Right. You don't quite have a high enough credit score. Maybe
Yep.
you've been late in the past. Whatever. So I put together a package and I send it through a subprime loan. It was a subprime loan, and maybe I get you 85 or 95%. You put down 5%, and of course I have to collect all the documents, and I make sure that your package is correct, right? Like you have to have verification of your rent for residency or mortgage, verification of your employment, and you have to make enough money to qualify for the loan, right? So you have to have a percentage of your income has to be allocated to cover that mortgage payment.
Yep.
Then also you have to have the appraisal. The property has to be worth it, right? Like you can't buy a property for $400,000 if the appraisal comes in and says it's only worth $300,000.
Yep.
So, and then of course the title has to be clean, but that basically is the property. And then the other thing is you have to have a down payment.
Yep.
This is if you're purchasing. If you're refinancing, it's different.
Yeah.
It's based off the equity. Thank you. Thank you so much.
WNG in the
Yeah,
chat.
and you bringing up some
Great coffee.
Speaking of which, where's mine? No, just kidding.
It's on the way. It's on the way.
Yeah. Angie's hooking us up. Sorry. So yeah. So sorry. So you were saying. So these things need to be in touch, obviously.
Right. You put together a package. You send it to underwriting.
Yep.
Now, if you're a mortgage brokerage business and you are signed up with multiple lenders, I might take that package and I might send it to SunTrust Bank. I might send it to Mortgage Warehouse. I might send it to Household Bank and see who gives me the best rate. Or some of them are just going to say, hey, you can't. This doesn't fit into one of our programs.
Yep.
Sorry, no, we're not interested.
Yep.
And you try and get the most yield spread back, right? So if your interest rate's 6%, and I tell you, this is going to sound sleazy. So if I say, the interest rate Household Bank quotes me, says we can give them a loan at 6%. And I go, oh, okay. And I go to you and I say, listen, I can get you 7.5.
Oh yeah.
And you go, oh, okay, cool, 7.5. I'll take it. I know you'll take it because I know you've been turned down by 3 other places. You don't have a choice.
Yeah.
So what that does is let's say, and this is an exaggeration, it's typically like 25 or 30, but for the sake of this, every 50 or half a point, I get a point back on the loan.
Yeah.
So if you borrow $200,000 and I just jacked up your rate by
1.5%.
1.5, which is multiple 350% basis points, that's 3 points back. So I'd get back $6,000, and I'm charging you a broker fee of $3 or $4 grand.
Yep.
So I might end up making $9,000-$10,000.
Yep.
And so the first month, I close 4 loans.
Yep.
Because like I said, the guy comes in, he's got a W-2, he doesn't make enough money. I know he's got to make more money, so I change the W-2. He doesn't make $50,000, now he makes $57,000. Guess what? We send it to underwriting, and I start to
Made the requirement.
Right. And I start to figure out what underwriting asks. All they're really asking is, does he work here?
Right.
Has he worked here for 2 years? Did you fill out this verification of employment? Yes. Okay, thank you. They're not saying how much was his last year's W-2, how much. They're not asking all that.
Yeah.
I provided those documents. Why would they question the documents?
You know, and I think it's really important because we've done episodes on real estate here, and it's fantastic to kind of get it from your perspective of like, you know, what a mortgage broker is, and like, you know, for the guy, chat out there, guys, like you want to buy a house or whatever, and your credit isn't that good, you go to a mortgage broker, and what he'll do is he'll shop your package around to other places to help you get a loan because not everyone has good credit, etc. Or let's say you maxed out your ability to get certain, you know, Fannie Mae loans or whatever, then they'll be able to help you out. So you were able to, so you were in a very, I guess, good position where you could get the person a loan, and these are people that don't necessarily have the best credit or the best financial background, and you're able to kind of increase interest rates, make them say that they make more money than they really do, etc. So
Yeah, they're not going anywhere else.
yeah.
And also, that applies to cars too as well. With cars, buy a pay here's.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
were you
The
doing car
rates.
loans, or were you just doing strictly?
No, we're just
home?
doing mortgages.
You were just doing mortgages, right? Okay. So-
But yeah, it's rampant.
Dude.
in
I had no idea how bad it was until like a friend of mine pulled up a contract that he had, and you're right, the points matter. So
yeah.
if they get a higher point percentage because they know you can't get any better rates, it's like, you know, we'll give you 9%. All right, bro, I can't get anywhere else. I'll take it, and then they get money back.
yeah.
W for them, but for the person buying it, it sucks.
Yeah, and that's why a lot of times they want to do the financing themselves. You know,
In-house financing.
right? It helps them make additional money, right? You buy a car for $50,000, you might make an extra $1,500, $2,500 because you can really jack up the rate. So anyway, what ends up happening is I worked at that company for maybe 6 months.
So you close that first loan, you get that first taste, $3,500.
Yeah, it's four loans the first month, then it's four, then it's 6, then it's 8, then it's 10,
How much
then
did
it's
you make
12.
that first month?
I made not that much because they took 30%. So I probably made 9 or 10, right? Because it's not always 3,500, and you don't always get to bump the rate, right?
Yeah.
So it's not at that company, but when I went and I started my own company, because keep in mind you might get 1 point from them, and they are getting 2 because they're the lender.
And
But
can you explain to the audience real quick what points are?
Yeah, points are like if it's 1% of the loan amount.
Okay.
So if I jack up your interest rate by 50 basis points, like half of the rate or half the interest rate, so instead of 7, it's 7.5. I get 1 point back.
Yeah.
Right. So, but keep in mind they're the ones who are really getting most of that at the lender. But when I went to and opened up my own company, now I'm getting all 3 points or 2 points or 5 points. Some of these places are doing 5 points.
Yes.
So now we're getting that. And then I went out immediately. I hired a bunch of mortgage brokers.
When did you leave and start your own? So you did your first month,
I'd
4
say-
loans. You made like 10K, which is like 20, 30K nowadays, right? That's a lot of money back in '99. And then you did that for a bit. And then how long until you left?
6 to 8 months.
Okay, so you were only there. Okay.
Well,
How many companies nowadays
might have been a year, but go
do
ahead.
that right now? You'd say a lot of them.
So I want to say, is it Dodd-Frank Act was passed, and they've limited the amount of points you can get back and how much the rates are. Like they've changed a lot of they've tweaked a lot of little things so it's not, you don't have quite as much of an incentive, and they also track anybody who originates a loan. Where I'm originating a loan and everything's closing in the lender's name, like they don't even know who I am.
Yeah.
But now you have your numbers attached. So if they say, hey, this guy's done 100 loans this year and 40 of them went under, like it's fraud and he's all over, like they'd immediately jump on you and investigate you. But back then they have no idea who's
And I
closing
think it's
these
important
loans.
for the audience to know this is before 2008, guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is when you can get a loan for
crash.
literally anything. This is before the housing crash. So this was like a fantastic time to go in and be in this business. So you do that for about a year. You're working with this company. You're making 8, 10K a month, and then you're like, I could do this myself. I could get make more money.
Yeah, they actually had an issue with their credit line, so it was a combination of the two. Like one, they're having problems, and I was like, what, I'm done. Like I've got a bunch of people that want loans. I'm gonna go start my own company. So I started my own company because I really didn't want to own my own company. Like I wasn't thinking I was making great money. I'm thrilled. The chick I was dating, we're not dating anymore. She actually started dating the owner of the company. He divorced his wife. He had 3 kids, 3 boys, and a wife. He divorced her and ended up marrying
Your chick.
my chick. Her name was Chrissy, and then they ended up having a baby. And so from her perspective, it's romantic.
She put you on.
Yeah, from my perspective, she's a whore. But the point is,
Agreed.
regardless, good for her. It's a romance.
How
So
dare you.
I'm excited for it. So, and they're still together to this day. So to be honest, she made the right
Really?
call. Oh yeah, to this day, she made the right call. And he's a nice guy. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
I'm sure his ex-wife doesn't think so, but that's either way. I'm sure Chrissy, they're very happy. So the point is that I start my own place. I hire a bunch of guys. I hire like 10 or 12 guys, and pretty much anybody can be a mortgage broker, right? Like I got a guy who's literally worked for like Pestex for 2 years, and he quit there and came to work. I got another guy that
Because you had all the contacts with the lenders, right?
well, and keep in mind, you don't have to be all that good.
Yeah.
You just get people that want to buy houses.
Yep.
If they have a pulse, I'm going to make sure they get a loan.
Boom.
I'm going to get them. I'm going to make their W-2. At this point, it's graduated from I'm going to change a 7, or I'm going to do this, and I'm going to be scared the whole time, to just I don't give a fuck. Like we're gonna you come in, like, does he have a job? No, he doesn't have a job. He works for himself. He washes cars. That's fine. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make W-2. I'm gonna make 1040s. I'm gonna go find this. Go get this chick. I had a chick that would make 1040s for. So he still washes cars.
Yo.
But I'm gonna get a year-to-date profit and loss. I'm gonna get 2 years taxes done. She charged me like $25, and then we'd go in and you'd go to a company that didn't file, let's say it's called a 4506. So you find a company that's not going to file a 4506, so they're not going to pull the taxes from the IRS. They're just going to accept what he has. If he has over a certain score, there's lots of programs. So you're like, hey, we can do this with this guy. Don't worry, I'll call so and so. He needs to make about $85,000. We'll do the write-offs, everything. Or this person doesn't make enough money, or this person has a W-2 job, but they don't claim taxes. That's okay. I'm going to have him work for my company. And I had 4 or 5 companies and cell phones. Like I had a Credenza. It's got all these cell phones on it. So if somebody called to verify your employment, I just answer the phone, hey, Express Tax Service, how may I help you?
Wow.
And they, hey, I'm calling, about, Byron. Does he work there? He does work here, and he's not here right now. And they're like, oh, no. We're just calling to verify he works there. Has he been there 5 years? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I filled out a verification of employment for you, right? He's getting a house, right? And they, yeah. No, he's good. Oh, okay. Do you need anything else? You need me to fax anything? No, that's fine. Okay, thanks. Click. We're done.
Wow.
We're done. So, you got W-2s, pay stubs, and I just verified your employment. And then, of course, they got other checks, right? Like they would check to say, hey, the tax ID number on this W-2, is it a real company? Of course it's a real company. I have a real company. Has it been in business for 5 years? Of course it has. I just paid up a company that had been inactive. And after 3 years, in Florida, you can catch up the dues, right? Like the fees, right? The yearly fees. You catch up the yearly fees, and now the company's active again. I can put it in anybody's name. Looks like it's been active for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And you can put
Age corporations.
Yeah, they call them shelf corporations, right?
There you go.
So I would have those, so you can call. I got to a point where I would not only would I do that, but I would make a website for it.
Wow.
And there used to be something called the business directory, right? I could add the phone numbers to the business directory. Like it doesn't matter if I spend $500 or $1,000 or $1,500 on this fake corporation for you, because I'm going to use it for you and him and Jimmy and Todd. Like I'll be using this thing if I have 5 of them. And it was the same thing with banks. I got to a point where it's like a lot of times the lenders would say, look, this person doesn't have great credit. So they've been on their job, but they don't have great credit. Mm-hmm. And the issue with them is that we're afraid they're not going to be able to make the payment if something goes wrong. They barely have enough money to pay the down payment. And they would say, we really want them to have reserves, like 6 months worth of reserves, which means if they lost their job, they could still make all the payments. Yeah. And then they're like, so I'm sorry, we're going to turn it down. They would say, we're sorry, I'm going to turn it down. I go, whoa, wait a minute. What do you mean? He's got like 30 grand in the bank. What are you talking about? And they go, Matt, he's got like $8,000. I go, what account do you have? Oh. And they go, oh, Bank of America. And I go, oh, no. Oh, I didn't send you Bank of Ybor. And they go, yeah. I go, no, Bank of Ybor. I can get you 3 months bank statements right now. Yeah. And I'll send them over. He's got over 30 grand. We didn't send you that. The processor didn't send you. Tracy, Yeah. And, you know what I'm saying?
Morgan.
They'd be like,
write it up.
Right. And I'll fax them over right now. And of course, there is no Bank of Ybor. It's actually just a website that I made.
Yep.
But you could call it. It had a phone number. Somebody would answer. And so I even had bank statements. So I had bank statements for that one. I had another one called Express Tax Services. No, not Express. What am I saying? It was Southern Exchange Bank. That's what it was called, Southern Exchange Bank. And that was a real bank that had closed. So I did Southern Exchange Bank of Clarksville.com because I couldn't get the website because it had actually been bought out by like SunTrust or somebody anyway. So I used that, right? And I had a website. I built a website for that. And so I had multiple banks. So I can verify your down payment. I can verify your reserves. I can verify employment. I can verify anything I want. And so that was working out great. Like I was making a bunch of money.
This is crazy. So it went from like you just whiting out a thing, right? To he makes what was the first one again? And when you whited it out, it was to show how much money they made. Oh no, they
30-day late.
They weren't late on rent.
Yeah,
it went from that to creating all these different infrastructures to substantiate someone who's unqualified.
Yeah.
To make them qualified, you make this much money. You even went to the extent to have them have bank accounts.
Yeah.
So if you're breathing, you can get a loan.
Yeah, that's what I used to say. Yeah, guys would come in. They'd be like, "Bro, like if somebody's got a pulse, we can get them." I'd be like, "Absolutely."
So you had all these things just set up in the background to make sure that you. What was your close rate at this point? 90s?
I mean, oh yeah. I mean, everybody that walks in, that they want to buy a house. I mean, they still had to have. Not always, but if it was somebody off the street, like you've got to have your down payment.
Yeah.
Like we're not just, we're not pulling homeless people off the street and giving them, they have to be like if somebody came in and they've been evicted 4 times, they don't have a down payment, they're on Social Security disability. It's like, you can't pay a mortgage. Like I can't. I'm sorry. Yeah. But if it was someone who was reasonably having some issues, and we thought they'll probably be okay, which is, by the way, not the underwriting standard.
Yeah.
But for us, it's like, they'll probably make a few payments. We'll be good.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
In the car industry, they get very creative. They actually give you like months to pay the deposit. So they'll give you like 3, 4, 5 months to pay the full down payment, and then you still get the car up front. They get very creative.
That's
bro.
great.
No, that's that. Because now I got the car. What if I don't make the payments? Well, see, the thing is, with a car, you can take it back very quickly.
Yeah.
With a house, if I put up any fight at all, it could be 6 months, a year. Most of these people don't, though. If they were, if you have somebody in a lower income area back then, if they didn't pay and they start the legal process, and these people aren't capable of fighting a foreclosure, so they just lose the house in 90 days, 120 days.
So Matt, who taught you all these like tips and tricks? Because I feel like to know this stuff, you got to know the weeds of like the whole industry.
Well, I mean, you keep getting caught. I would get caught, and the nice thing about being in my position is that if somebody got caught at that time, you got caught. What Eddie LaFuente did what? So if I get the phone call, I go, let me get him in here. Eddie, what did you do, bro? I got this underwriter calling, or I got the head of this bank calling, and and he's sitting there like, motherfucker, you know what? Shut up. And then you say, well, what? How did you even? So how did you catch this? Well, one of the ways that we catch, or we look into whatever it is, bank statements or this or that, and then they tell you, and you're like,
thank you, brother.
Next time it's got to be a real tax ID number. Okay. Next time it has to be this. Next time so you just make that alteration. It gets to that point where you're like, you're 100% positive.
The underwriter would make these complaints.
Yeah.
And then you would say, what was it specifically? You bring that person in, fake yell at, that's genius.
Yeah, you yell at them a little bit.
Genius.
And say, don't send it. And then you just say, don't send anything to Mortgage Warehouse again.
Yeah.
Like wait 6 months before you send anything because they think you're fired.
Gotcha.
Okay. They're like, cool, bro. No problem.
Listen, man.
Wow.
This is funny because I got family from Nigeria, so seeing these scams is hilarious.
Yeah, so this is interesting because it's like, obviously, there's this old saying, you can't lie once, right? You have to lie multiple times. So like, you would, obviously get them the loan, but then you'd find out, okay, you don't qualify for this, or no, I got to get this now. So like, you pretty much had it where you had bank statements, you had jobs, you were verifying their employment, you were doing all this stuff. So you do this for how many years did you do this for before you got caught the first time?
I probably did that for
99 we started the company?
Yeah, probably a couple years. And then what happened was the way I got caught was I usually don't even mention this part, but just because it's irrelevant. But remember the chick that had me white out the thing?
Yes.
Okay. So that company had gone under.
Okay.
And she came to work for me.
Oh shit.
Right.
Oh, wow.
So now listen, what a bitch. Like, I mean, just horrible person.
Was she impressed by how you just came up off her little whiteout chick?
She's like, you owe me, buddy. Matt, you owe me.
No, I mean, listen, she was an amazing closer. I mean, like she was cranking them out. And so she came to work for me for a couple months, and then she and her husband went and opened their own place.
Ooh.
And so it was called Creative Mortgage Brokers. So
Fantastic name.
yeah, perfect, right? That's no red flags there. So she opened her own place, and here's the thing: I had gotten married, and so I got married.
What year is this now? 2000.
Yeah, I'd say 2000, probably just 2001, let's say, because I got because there's so many things happening at the same time, right?
Pre 9/11.
Pre 9/11.
Like
Oh yeah,
before
yeah,
nine-
no,
before
definitely,
nine- okay,
definitely.
okay. All right.
Yeah. So I date this chick. She gets pregnant immediately. We get married, and she's like, "Well, I want to stay home with the baby," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's not going to happen." I'm like, "You're going to have to." I'm going to buy a bunch of rental properties. You can collect rent, then you can raise the baby. That's fine, but you're not sitting home, So we're gonna buy a bunch of rental properties. So within a year, I've got about $1.5 million, maybe $2 million worth of real estate that she owns.
Okay.
I mean, we both own it, but
Yeah.
And she's collecting rent. She's renting them out, collecting rent, and
So she's basically a property manager.
she is absolutely
Yeah.
opened a property management company, everything. She didn't obviously. She's not a real estate. She's not a real estate broker because she owns them. If you own the property, you can open a management company. You're managing your own property. So also, she could verify people's employment. I mean, verify people's rent.
Yeah.
So if you own a property management company, I remember it's called Utopian Properties. So if I need to verify your rent, they rent from her, and they could call and verify.
Oh, so your people that would borrow from you, you'd have them basically be one of your tenants.
If I have to.
Spider web? He's the one controlling the web.
Yeah, it gets worse and worse. So, but what happens is Gretchen and Pete, which is the manager, and her husband open a place, and
This is a whiteout lady, right?
Whiteout lady.
Yeah.
And she ends up.
The devil.
They end up. What do they do? They end up running what's called the straw man scam.
Okay.
So they had a couple of Italian guys that came in and bought a bunch of $1 million properties that were probably selling for $500,000 or $600,000, but they could get them appraised for $1 million. So they get a loan for $1 million, pull out $300,000-$400,000 on like 4 or 5 properties, and take the money and run. They never make one payment, which is just completely stupid. Like if you'd made 4 or 5 payments, you'd have been fine. But instead, these are first payment defaults. So immediately the bank says, you're a good risk. We just lent you $1 million. You didn't make one payment? Something's wrong. So they investigate. Had you made 3 payments and said, man, my business went under, I can't pay, that's reasonable. That happens. But no, just idiots.
Mob guys? Gotta be mob guys.
I think so. I mean, I always thought so, but
So they basically, so they went ahead, got a bunch of houses appraised, way over appraised.
Yes.
Do cash out refinances, pull the money out, and they just never paid the loan back.
Or maybe even, I think some of them were even just direct purchases. So the owner is in on it, possibly.
Okay.
Right?
Wow.
So you only want $700,000. I buy it for $1 million. You cut me a check back for $300,000. Maybe you don't even cut it back. Maybe we just have part of the proceeds go directly to a construction company. Right? Like I did that all the time.
Okay.
Where I'll get you money out at closing. You'll walk away with $40,000. You bring 10, you'll walk away with 40. So, and it goes to a construction company, and then I cut the check back to you. So that I own.
And you would do that for people that wanted to so you didn't just do loans, you did refinances as well.
Oh yeah, we did refis, we did everything. I mean, we were an FHA approved lender, VA approved, subprime.
FHA too?
Yeah,
FHA
everything. Yeah, we were.
Wow.
Yeah. Listen, from the outside, it looked
No wonder the feds went after you.
It looked extremely legit.
Yeah.
From the outside.
Yeah.
You practically thought you were walking into a bank. Everybody looks good. They don't. It's dirty as hell.
Do you ever feel any remorse?
No.
At all? No.
I have. Yeah. I have very, very. I'm not saying I'm 100%.
You're ripping off the banks.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I'm 100% sociopath, but I'm definitely on the sociopathic, scale, right? Like I have very little empathy. And then there are some things like I have extreme empathy for, right? Like, like if we talk about my mom, I'll cry like that. If we talk about my ex-wife to a certain, or I'm sorry, not my ex-wife, to my wife, about my wife, like that. Talk about my son, boom, immediately. But you could talk about other people, and I have virtually, I don't know this person, I don't care about this person means nothing to me. It's horrible. It just comes along with being just narcissistic,
Yeah.
So anyway, what ends up happening is they end up running a scam.
Okay. Whiteout lady and her husband.
Yes. The feds come in.
So they have their own business. So did she work for you at this point, or
no? She started her own business. She came for a few months till she made some money, and then she goes and opens her own place.
Okay, so she worked for you first, then she went to start her own business.
Yes.
Okay. Creative lending.
Yeah, creative mortgage brokers.
Okay.
So the FBI comes in. Now here's the thing. Remember all the properties that I had bought or my ex-wife had bought.
Yeah.
And she got loans on.
Yeah.
She can't get those loans in my company because it's not a arm's length transaction.
Okay.
So I sent her to Gretchen's company. So when the feds come in and grab her files or whatever they do, first of all, she comes to me immediately and says, "Can you get me $75,000 to pay an attorney?" She goes, "Can you refinance my house?" I said, "Yeah, of course. I want to help her. Like I don't know how things work by this point."
This is Gretchen that came to you.
Whiteout woman. Yeah.
Whiteout woman.
So
yeah.
she wants.
And you didn't know that she got the feds came after her.
I did know.
Okay.
I felt horrible. Like, oh my gosh, what happened? And she tells me what happened. These guys, they came in, and yeah, I knew the loans were fraudulent, but I was making she made like $20,000 and $30,000 broker fees on these things. I'm like, you knew it. She's like, well, I assumed they'd at least make some payments. Like, I didn't know they were fucking.
Oh, because she was
idiots.
giving loans to these Italians.
Yes.
There you go. Okay.
So that's the straw man scam, right?
Yeah.
Because they're straw men. They're not really buying it to be real people. They're fake people, or not even fake people. It's a real person, but you're not really going to make the payment.
Gotcha.
You're just someone to stand there and get a loan and then leave.
Now I understand. Okay, so she just gave a bunch of loans out to these potentially mob guys that were just buying these houses, overinflated, taking out cash out refinances, running it, not making any payments. Obviously, yeah, that's going to get on the Fed's radar immediately. What the fuck?
The
and
bank's
she
not
did a
gonna
bunch of
walk
these
away.
loans. Okay.
Right. They come in, they grab her. She comes to me, "Can you refinance my house, get me $75,000? She's like, they've seized bank account, they're freezing stuff.
shit.
And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, of course. What's so funny is my ex-wife, her name is Kayla. She had family members that had been arrested and gone to jail. And the first thing she said to me was, "Stop talking to them." And I went, "Why?" She goes, "They're going to cooperate against you to try and get time knocked off their sentence." And I went, "What are you talking about?"
Well, yeah, because this is a foreign concept to you. Yeah,
I go, "This is a friend of mine. We went to Puerto Rico with them. We babysit each other's kids. Like, what are you? She's not going to fucking tell on me." And she's like, "Okay, I'm just telling you. I'm telling you right now." And I was like, listen, if I had listened to my ex-wife, every single thing she ever told me came right. Like, every single time, you're going to get in trouble for that. You're going to just watch. You're going to get in trouble. They're going to come get you. And I'm like, you don't know anything. Even after this happened. So,
I can feel her shoes.
Yeah.
Myron,
What? What are you talking about?
nothing. Go ahead.
So
I'm lost. Okay. Okay. So, so sorry. So I don't know what the hell. Okay.
So what?
So 75K. She wants a cash out refi.
Right. But so I go, "Okay, no problem." I'm like, "Okay, well, wait a minute. Like, you don't qualify for it. Like, you don't have a business at this point." And she's like, "You can't." She said, "No, it's okay." She's like, I'll provide W-2s, pay stubs, the whole thing to verify this and that." And I was like, "All right, no problem." She provides them for me. They verify their own employment, the whole thing. It goes through, no problem. Get them $75,000. They pay their attorney, this high-priced attorney. He immediately says, "You need to cooperate against this guy."
Oh,
The guy that just did this.
The lawyer you got the money for them to
Right.
hire says go cooperate against Matt.
This is a good guy to cooperate against. This guy's doing bad stuff. So she works with the FBI, and so one day I get a phone call from her, and she says, "Hey, can you meet me for lunch?" And I was like, "Yeah, meet me at the pizza place," because I said I didn't want her coming in my office, because at this point everybody in the office, she would call and somebody'd pick it up and be like, "Hey, Gretchen's on line 3," and then they would all go whoop 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 whoop. They start making noises, and I'd be like, cut the shit, She's like, I feel bad for her, right? Like, that's back when I was probably a more decent person. So I end up going to a pizza place. I meet her and her husband. She sits down and she says, "Listen, when the FBI came in, they grabbed a bunch of our files." And I'm like, "They did?" And she's like, "Yeah." And they grabbed a bunch of Kayla's files. That's my ex-wife. And I'm like,
Oh, shit.
"What?" And she goes, "Yeah." She said they're asking a lot of questions about her and you. I go, "Oh my God." I go, "You didn't tell them we were married, did you?" Because she had bought them all in her maiden name. And then all the properties. And I went, "Whoa." I said, "You didn't tell them the W-2s and pay stubs were fake, did you?" Like, I just buried myself. And literally,
Oh shit.
like, I remember thinking, like, and it's probably meant nothing. She was probably wired.
Were they recording?
Well, yeah, it's funny too, because both of them had like placed their cell phones next to me. Now, maybe it wasn't in
what
the cell
year is
phone.
this now? Are we talking? This is 2001,
2000, probably 2001.
Okay.
So, and it may have meant nothing, but I remember immediately looking down at the cell phones, thinking, "Ah, shit." And because as I'm starting to talk, as I was starting to talk, I said, "You didn't tell them this, you didn't tell them this, you didn't tell them this." And then I said, "Okay, listen, here's what you do. Tell them that you never met her in person." I start trying to come up with a way to explain it away so they can't be held liable. They've never met her. And if nobody talks, it might go away. That's my best bet, right? So I immediately come up with this. And as I'm telling her that, she says, "Matt, we can't lie to the FBI." Like, what are you talking about? You've been lying to the FBI. I said, I just, I started to go into the refi, and Pete stands up and he goes, he stands up and he goes, we've never lied to the FBI. We might not have told them everything, but we've never lied. And I was like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
that's a little,
What an NPC.
that's
like-
a little,
Yeah.
But here's the thing, like,
orchestrated
well, it's like, I'm like, who are you talking
in a
like,
fucking big ass pizza spot in a pizza restaurant. What the fuck?
But first of all, who are you telling this to? Because I know you lied.
Yeah.
So you're not
Yeah.
saying it for my benefit. So
Yeah.
I'm looking at him like, and I immediately think, oh,
Kayla was right.
That's when it hit you, right?
yeah. And that's when I see the cell phones, and I'm like, oh. And I looked right at Gretchen. I said, man, I hope you get something for this. And she starts crying immediately, and she says, Matt, we don't have to go to jail. She goes, I have a kid. I said, I don't have a kid. And she goes, and she's like, I'm sorry, Matt, I'm sorry. And she just starts crying. I said, listen, tell the FBI not to come to my office. Because when they went to her office, everybody quit. Because they know what they're doing.
Yeah, of course.
So I said, tell them to call me. So she goes, I'm so sorry, man. I just get up and I walk out. So like 20 minutes later, I get back to the office, and the FBI agent calls. I'll never forget. His name was Agent Scott Gale.